of 16 matches went, and trust me, there was lots of drama. So tonight, we are going to look at every major game, give our analysis of it, and trust me, there's so much we have to say. Welcome back to All About Arsenal. And of course, round of 16 took place on Wednesday and Tuesday. We looked at the group stages a couple of weeks back where we had a review of today. And it's also good to know that the same panelists that were part of that awesome review show are the ones that are back. And what I'm really loving is the fact that some of their clubs are also involved in it. Of course, we have Dwayne Apachino. How you doing, brother? Good to see you again, man.
I'm doing all right. I'm surviving. Konate hasn't killed me yet, so we thank God. we're pushing.
Awesome. So before we go to the individual games one after the other, looking at how the draws happened and the expectations you had coming into the games that you watched, obviously for your team and other teams that played, were there any changes in your mind? Did everything go as planned?
No, everything, obviously, when you predict these things, they are professional players, and then you're predicting who's going to come out between top teams with top players. Sometimes it doesn't always go according to plan. One tie I got really, really wrong. I'd say it was the Real Madrid-Man City tie. For all the other ties, I think it may have been, maybe closer like my expectation, closer to my expectation in terms of the results. Not necessarily the performances, but the Real Madrid-Man City game, from the result, the performances, and had I been opportune to review my prediction after I saw the lineup, then I could have been singing another tune, because the moment I saw the Man City lineup, it was like, oh, Pep, here we go again, So yeah.
Awesome.
That was the major surprise. Also, Bodo Glimt beating Sporting 3-0. I thought it would be much closer. I think I picked Sporting self to go through or something like that. But Bodo Glimt, they're still. I just felt like they'll fall apart, but not yet.
Awesome. And we have the other panelist as part of the preview show, Dr. Nana. How you doing, bro? Well, we can't hear you. Yeah, you're kind of sounding very light. Is it because of the defeat? Come on, bro. It's not that bad.
No, that's not it. Can you hear me?
Now we can hear you. They can hear you. You can see that I specifically want this because of you, yeah?
I don't even want to start with that game. I don't want to start. Let's start.
Yeah.
Let's start somewhere else.
Yeah. So my idea tonight is that we're going to start with the way the fixtures were set up. And on Tuesday night, the very first fixture we received was the clash between Galatasaray and Liverpool. Yeah. So Toye, as a Liverpool fan, coming into this game, obviously you had expectations. This was a game that you guys had played in the group stage. We have a couple of folks in the chat already. One guy says Nana is not doing well. Oh, nice to have you, DHS Unplugged, in the chat channel tonight.
So should I want a different jersey?
Yeah, you probably should have worn a different jersey. So this was a game that you have gotten a feel of it in the group stage. Now, looking at what the kind of lineup you played in the group stage compared to the lineup you played in this knockout phase, were you concerned that this might be a deja vu situation to you?
There's always a concern with Liverpool. I can't even remember or recall the lineup exactly in the group stage game. I watched that game. I think this was just a continuation of that game with respect to the performance. Liverpool, I don't know, like they just never really felt like creating. Never felt like they were going to score. The game was just it was just a drab, and so having. And me, I'm a realist, and I've seen Liverpool play. I saw them play against Wolves where they lost. It's what the team is. After a while, you have to now start accepting. This is what they are. Show me who you are, and then I'll believe you. I'll stop making excuses for you. So again, it was a game, and I'm going up against Osimhen. who is quite physical. He puts himself about. I knew it was always going to be a problem. My main worry was the right side of the defense. I had Joe Gomez and Konate. That's always been my main worry for Liverpool, for a very long time. When it was Trent and Konate, Matip and Trent, Matip, Joe Gomez, that's always been my main worry. So the game, it went. I was hoping, I believe that Liverpool maybe could have gotten a draw or even come away with a win because they've actually done really well in Europe. But I was still not surprised because, it's what I've come to expect from Liverpool over the course of the season. So, yeah, it was just one of those games.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So let's see a couple of chats. We have Justin says, "Well done, yeah, well done, bro. Good to have you here." And DHS Unplugged continue to say that to lose twice to Gala is a disgrace. So, Dr. Nana, would you regard losing to Gala as a disgrace, as Mr. DHS talks about it in the chat?
They're not a bad team at all. They are dominating the Turkish league, and then they have, especially Victor Osimhen is one. When have one player that can make a total difference in a team, he's that one player. He has the ability to cause problems, and he got the assist, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that made all the difference. So I don't think there's but recently Liverpool has not been to. I mean, in my own assessment, I think they can be playing better than this. The other match when they won Wolves, it was almost, I don't know. What I'm saying is Liverpool can actually play better than they are right now. And in the last time I predicted that they were going to defeat Galatasaray because that was actually my expectation. But the way the game happened and in this particular stage, everyone is trying to up their game. Everyone is trying to be at their best. Nobody's trying to leave anything to chance. You can see even what Leverkusen did yesterday. We didn't really expect that. So however, I feel like in Anfield, Liverpool are going to, score the goals and get the margins that they need to proceed. 1-0 is it's not a lot to come back from. It's been done several times, and Galatasaray is a decent team. So if you lose against a poor team, then there's something to be concerned about. But Galatasaray is a decent team. So saying that it's a shame that Liverpool lost against them might be a bit disrespectful. So I feel that it was a fair game and that they can come back from here at Anfield.
Okay, fair enough. So DHS kind of made his comments more feasible. He said it's not just about losing, but losing twice in the same season is not just good enough against Gala. So let's look at the stats. You both had 15 shots each. Liverpool actually had 6 shots on target, while Gala had 4. But you guys had an XG of just 1.31. So were there any clear-cut chances in the game that made you go crazy that your team missed?
Yeah, Liverpool had their moments in the game. I think Galatasaray had the better moments. Liverpool, but the best chance of the game fell to Liverpool, not even Galatasaray. But again, the corner kick, it was corner head back. Yeah, but I think the chance of the game fell to Liverpool. Ekitike was thrown goal 1-1 with goalkeeper and he missed it.
Yeah, that's just a miss. I remember. Yeah.
The keeper came up with a fantastic save. So and at the beginning of the game, Galatasaray made a couple of mistakes where there was one where the ball fell to Florian Wirtz. The keeper was trying to run back in his post. Wirtz, he couldn't even hit the target. So Liverpool did have a couple of good chances, in the game, and then it's a pity that they couldn't finish. I wasn't surprised. It's been a tale of, with Liverpool, the main issue is creating consistently. How you play. They don't really have a pattern. The coach does a lot of with respect to his midfield, how he wants his midfielders to play, where they want to play. If you watch the game, Ryan Gravenberch wasn't even sitting. Gravenberch was he twisted. They pushed him all the way to the right. So I like and Gravenberch made his name last season playing as the pivot. Yeah, he was a holding midfield player. But suddenly now you're pushing him all the way out to the right, and you have McAllister alone in the middle. He's trying to fit in, Zoboslai, Florian Wirtz, and everything. Again, the game was just a dreadful game. I've lost faith in the manager. I'm not a big fan of the manager. Rio Ngomoa playing 0 minutes in that kind of game, again,
Yeah.
I wasn't a big fan of that decision. Well, it is what it is. You take your lumps along the way, and this was one of such. Galatasaray deserved to win, in my opinion, because they wanted it more. All the loop ball, the 50-50 balls, the second balls, they came up with it, most of them. So, they put in more effort. They look like a team that wanted it more than Liverpool. And having gotten it, then you can't really fault them or anything. Kudos to them. I'm not going to be surprised if they come to Anfield and then they play a draw at Anfield and Liverpool goes home. I'm not going to be surprised. Like, look, at this point with Liverpool, it is what it is. Well, yeah.
Okay. So, Doctor, Mario Lemina scored that goal early, but Liverpool were chasing the game, and on the 60th minute, Mo Salah was subbed. Mo Salah is supposed to be the talisman of the club, a player that has basically done everything for them. Is it high time for the club to start thinking of life after Salah, or was it an error giving him that huge contract at the start of the season?
The fact that it's high time the club started looking for a replacement for Salah. It's high time Salah actually left, because man has paid his dues. He's done everything. So if he leaves now, we're not even blaming him for not performing well, because age is no longer on his side. I mean, he can't. We know, one of the key things about Salah back in the days, one of the advantages he had was his space. Okay, he could outrun defenders. He can't do it anymore because he's no longer young. And actually, I feel bad. It hurts to. I'm not a Liverpool fan, but I'm a Salah fan. I feel hurt to see him get, dispossessed the way that he's been getting dispossessed lately, and I see him, and I know what he's done before, what he's capable of doing from that right wing, and I see him not being able to do that. It's you're young, you have abilities, and then you get to a certain age, you're not able to do those things. So it hurts to see him in that position. And it's not too much if he starts looking to. I mean, he's, like I said, he's paid his dues. There's always that time to leave, because Liverpool can't depend on him, and he's always been that one person who can carry the team and deliver, and they can't have that expectations of him. So starting games is not even necessary, in my opinion. Maybe they should find someone who starts and then he can come in at some point. But I in my honest opinion, I think it's actually time he moves to maybe Saudi or somewhere and just plan towards retirement. So
Okay, so Dwayne, I want to get your take on this, but let's talk on what Unplug has said. He says Salah is a man on borrowed time, actually, a legend, but he should have left at the end of the season. So, two questions for you, Dwayne. As a Liverpool fan, knowing how the season finished on that slot, winning the league and all that, and buying all those superstars you bought in the summer, was it a good time to let Salah go? That's one. And number two, what is your honest take on Salah right now?
Firstly, I think, look, a lot of people do this where you use the future, you understand, to make to take up positions, you understand, related to the past. We saw what Salah did last season. Salah put up, the greatest season in the history of the EPL by any footballer, you understand. That's what he did last season. And if you watch last season, actually he tailed off. He was on course to match. He was on course to match Haaland's goal scoring record and on course to break Henry's assist record. Everything in one season. So again, it was fantastic last season. Now there's something. So when I talk about revisionist history, if you remember last season when Salah hadn't resigned, Van Dijk hadn't resigned, and Trent hadn't also hadn't signed. A lot of people were saying, "Look, this is the end of the Liverpool era because once Salah goes, that is the end for Liverpool. Once Van Dijk goes, that is the end for Liverpool." You understand? Now, suddenly, the same people are coming back now to criticize keeping Salah. You were saying that if he left at that point, it was going to be disaster for Liverpool. Now that he stayed and he's not hit the heights that he was known for, now you're saying, oh, they should have let him go. Now, I don't see either ways, irrespective of how he's played this season, I think keeping him was in the club's best interest because Salah was going to be a free transfer. So had you decided not to keep him, he walks out, you don't get anything back for him. At this point now, he walks out the door. it's still feasible that the Saudi Pro League may pay upwards of anything between 50, 60. You don't know what can happen, and then that's fund that they can use, to reinvest in the squad. So again, it will go a long way. I'm happy they kept him. He's not played well this season, and it's now shown that okay, this is the perfect time to phase him out of the squad with respect to next season. But all these things, there are a lot of sentiments and opinions here and there. I remember when Slot, so when the season started and Salah was struggling, a lot of people were having a go at Salah. Then the coach takes him out of the starting lineup, and then Salah gives the interview, which was selfish. And suddenly, a lot of people now started standing up for Salah and having a go at the coach that, it's the coach's fault. And different things. And now Salah has come back from AFCON. And since he's come back, he started every game that he's been available for. And now he's still not been performing. You see that the same people now that were criticizing the coach, they cannot even criticize Salah now because you can't be speaking out of both sides. You're not a Daniel Boala, you understand? You can't be speaking left and speaking right at the same time. So stay on one side, let us know where you are. But I'm just happy that everything is played out how it's played out. Liverpool were due for a reset, and that's why I look at the signings they made last season. I'm very, very happy with Ekitike signing. Vets hasn't blown me away the way I thought he would. The signing I love the most, that I believe in the most, is actually Isak, if he stays.
Yeah,
I'm really looking forward to. But overall, this season was just.
Especially with the kind of form like Ekitike is showing,
But I'll ask you this question: look, Ekitike has shown good promise, but Ekitike has not shown consistent. He's not been consistent. Ekitike is the kind of player now. He plays really well. I love the guy. Again, from all the forwards that have come to the Premier League that switched clubs, even with João Pedro's form, Ekitike is the one. He's the one that I believe, you understand, that from what I'm seeing, I really like the most. Now, you people are again, it's just a myopic reasoning, in my opinion. We saw the game against Galatasaray, and when Ekitike wasn't even at it, there was nothing Liverpool could do. If you didn't get with Isak, Ekitike can play off the left. Isak can play down the middle. You need goals. That's something Liverpool needs. You need to replace Salah's goals. And as Salah is struggling, only Ekitike is even. And if you look at it comes in bursts. Ekitike will score, have 2 goals or have a great game in terms of goals and assists in output in this game. Then 2 games he goes off the ball. You understand? He's still young. He's raw. He misses a lot of chances. Those kind of things. You understand? He's not clinical enough to lead a team with the kind of hopes and aspirations that Liverpool has. Isak is. So I like the Isak signing. I like the Ekitike signing because they can play together. Now the question there is the coach going to be willing to use the two of them together? Vets. I love the signing of Florian Vets, but I believe strongly for Vets to perform at Liverpool, he needs to play behind the strikers. That's where he's shown at Leverkusen. Szoboszlai is doing a very, very fantastic job there, but the way Szoboszlai is playing, and it's going to be controversial, but hear me out. For Eden Hazard to shine at Chelsea, Jose Mourinho had to let Juan Mata go.
True.
When Eden Hazard and Juan Mata played together in the same team, you couldn't look at two of them and say Hazard was a better player than Mata. He had higher potential, but who was playing better was actually Juan Mata. But it's because the game had to go through Juan Mata. So it's a case of Szoboszlai can be playing well individually, but the way Szoboszlai plays, it's only him. It's not like the whole team. There's some players, when they play well, the whole team plays well. Florian Wirtz is one of such players that if he starts playing very well, the people around him will start. They will start playing very well. So again, like I said, it's very controversial. But I think Liverpool should even be prioritizing, Wirtz in that middle over Dominic Szoboszlai. But because of Szoboszlai's form, the coach now is having to find a way to put him in the team. Either he puts him in the right wing or he puts him as right back. And it's all it's just very messy, you understand, at this point. And that these are part of the reasons why personally, you know, I'm no longer Slot is no longer my cup of tea. He can leave. He's done a fantastic job last season. I believe it's time for him to go. But overall, I love the Isak signing. I believe Salah, you know, I'm not really going to criticize him as much because of what he did for Liverpool. Look, he won me 2 league titles that's in my whole life as a Liverpool fan, you know, I hadn't experienced, and we love him for that. You know, he's been a fantastic servant. When the summer comes, I believe he's going to leave, and Liverpool will recoup some funds to go back into the market to try and get themselves that right wing forward.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so before we leave these slides, predictions for second leg, Dr. Nana.
Zero.
Sorry, we didn't hear you. What did you say, bro?
Liverpool 2, Gala 0.
Okay, Doye, what about you?
You are strong predicting that Konate will be in the defense. I'll keep a clean sheet. I believe Liverpool. I believe Liverpool will win the game 2-1. The game will go to extra time. What happens in extra time is what I don't know, but I believe Liverpool will win the game 2-1. It goes to extra time.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so before I leave this, I think there's a nice comment I wanted to highlight from DHS Unplugged. Dr. Nana, maybe you could help us with that. It says playing together Isaac and Ekitike is not going to be easy if you add weight. It shapes the way your team defends of the ball, especially in the Premier League with intensity. He now said he's not sure all three can work together for entire season, 30 majority of the games. I think I've actually seen this happen with Liverpool this campaign, where one big guy always has to be on the bench. Sometimes he has been Florian Wirtz, sometimes they've been Gakpo, sometimes they've been Ekitike. So, what do you think about it? Do you think this information that can be played to accommodate both Isaac, Ekitike, and Wirtz?
Well, one of them has to play from the left wing. Maybe most likely Ekitike, because you can't play Alexander Isak anywhere else apart from your up front. And then I mean, they just like Doye mentioned, the best place to play Wirtz is the cam position, the central attacking midfielder. He flourished in that position in Bayer Leverkusen. So but then I don't think it's also very wise to start both Isak and Ekitike, because I mean one player can get injured, or you might need to bring in a supporting striker at some point, depending on how the game goes on in the second half.
Yeah.
You know, so
but you can move them around. You can move them around.
They are fluid enough.
They are used to play. They play 90 minutes. If one starts on this, if Ekitike starts on the left and Isak is struggling from the middle, and you want to bring in maybe a Gakpo, or you want to bring in Rio for Isak, then you simply move Ekitike from the left. He moves to the central area. The truth is, there are so many ways, you understand, to kill a rat. Liverpool,
Ekitike is even efficient on the left, from the left wing.
Ekitike, in Frankfurt, he played a couple of games on the left.
And the thing with Isak, we should also remember, Isak played from the left. Isak can drift to the left. He can drift to the left. When he played alongside, there were games where he started alongside Callum Wilson for Newcastle. And two of them played alongside each other, and they played really well. The thing is, the truth of the matter is that there is no one way or one formation to play a football game. It can work. It just depends on what is behind them. How do you deal with the players now behind them? That's just what what I believe.
Okay, that's fair. All right, guys. So let's go to the next game. This one was a banger. So we have on the right hand side Michael Olise, 18 goals, 24 assists. On the left-hand side, they have Luis Diaz, 20 goals, 14 assists. Then in center forward, they have Harry Kane, 48 goals, 6 assists. But they did not need Harry Kane for this game, and they destroyed Atalanta. So, Doye, I'll start with you on this. Watching how Olise developed from QPR to Reading, to Crystal Palace, and seeing what he's doing in Bayern Munich right now, do you think other big English teams slept on him, or was this an ideal move for him to cook?
I think the move was ideal for him, but at the same time, I think other big English teams slept on him. I remember at the time when he was moving to Bayern Munich, I was saying Chelsea should Chelsea should be all over him. I would have wanted Liverpool to be in the sweepstakes, but at that point, you still had Mo Salah that was still, operating at a ridiculously high level. So you couldn't really be bringing Olise in. Where will he play? How would you use him? All those kind of things. So I think the Premier League club slept on him. However, I still think that he's a bit overrated. That's what I do believe. Now don't get me wrong, he's a fantastic player.
Mm-hmm.
He's a fantastic player, but I believe he's overrated. Because when you look at the numbers that he's putting up, he's putting up some ridiculous numbers.
Yeah, very.
But I don't believe that the numbers, they reflect his talent. Look, I watched Luis Diaz play for Liverpool for years. I love Luis Diaz. Diaz is a solid, or he's what I call a high-end role player. He's a role player in a big team. He stays on the left. He does it. He's gone to Bayern Munich now, and Luis Diaz is a player that he's in the discussions for one of the best players in world football. I remember when the move was about to happen, we're having discussions about the fee, and everybody was scoffing at it because nobody saw him doing what he's currently doing. The league is a bit this, and I believe so. With the confidence that scoring week in, week out does for you in the league, when you get to the Champions League, it can carry on.
Yeah,
it can reflect. It can carry on a bit. You get so. Bayern Munich are a fantastic side. Diaz, very good player. Olise, like I said, I love Olise. He's grown. His game has expanded. He's grown, but I don't believe that. Like, for example, now if you're going to make a move for Olise, the fee that is going to be quoted, I don't believe he's what the fee that is going to be quoted. Look, I just saw Florian Wirtz, that was a 2-time German Player of the Year, come to the EPL, and then you can see from the get-go, the league was too physical for him. It was too strong for him. We've seen Olise in the Premier League. He wasn't this. You don't just go to another league overnight. He turned into something else. Luis Diaz went there overnight. He turned into something else. Harry Kane was very good in the Premier League. He went to the Bundesliga and he's operating at a level that we never really saw him operate at in terms of. But that's true. You understand? He turned into something else. Now there's a common denominator there. The English game is not easy. We've seen top players play against the English teams in the Premier League, and even when Bayern Munich played Arsenal, Olise wasn't doing this. You understand? When they played Arsenal, he didn't do this. So he's a very good player, but again, like I said, fantastic move by Bayern Munich. He's growing. A good move for him, but he definitely was slept on by the English teams.
Okay, great. So, Dr. Nana, DHS basically speaking the gospel in the chat today, bro. Keep it up. He was like, well, he said it's very good, but there's a German tax level too. So now let's talk about that German tax for a bit. Looking at the players that left Germany to come to England, and now looking at these players that are leaving England to come to Germany, how far off is the gulf in quality? So are we aligning in the way that we should really look at Olise in a different light, where even if he's giving 18 goals, 24 assists right now, it should probably be like maybe 10 goals, 10 assists in the Premier League, that kind of vibe. What's your take on that whole England versus Germany level intensity in terms of the quality of the league and the output from the players in those divisions?
In the English, the EPL is tougher than some of these other leagues, and when clubs from Germany, Spain, they play against English teams, they usually complain on how tougher the games are. But I won't completely say he's underrated. It is obvious that the German factor is there, but he's not the only right wing in Germany. He's putting in some crazy numbers. I don't think he's underrated. I mean, he didn't when he was at Crystal Palace. He played quite some games, and then it would have been nice to see what he would have been if he went to Liverpool or Chelsea or any of the big teams. That would have been like a fair comparison. But we cannot compare his performance when he was at Crystal Palace to what he's doing in the Bundesliga. I mean, even with like I said, he's not the only right winger in Bundesliga. So for him to be putting in that amount of goals, like, and assists with all that going on. I
It
think
shows
he's
his
not
quality.
really he's not on the. I mean, to me, I'll pick him over Yamal because I think he's more
Ooh.
efficient. Yeah,
Oh hell no.
Ooh. Are you
No, no
serious, bro?
way.
no, but
No way, no how.
Are you
that's my take.
serious?
Yeah, that's my take. I'll pick him
No
over
way,
Yamal.
no how.
That's my take. Like
Wow,
I
wow.
feel like he's more efficient. Like, I mean, there's also
That's
that
cold,
maturity
man.
factor. But to be honest, if you think of Yamal is good. Yeah, he's really good. But I've also seen him make some decisions. I've seen him miss certain one-on-ones, and I've seen him make some decisions in the sense that when it comes to deciding whether to dribble or to pass the ball, or the way he does all those things like effortlessly, almost also perfect. But my own take, like his gameplay and how Olise plays, I'll pick Olise over Yamal like any day, anytime, like right now. To be
Okay,
honest, I
that's
don't
sure.
think he's underrated at all.
So,
Can I
do
come?
you want to comment on that,
Yeah,
please?
yeah, yeah,
I'd
yeah,
like to
yeah.
hear your
Look,
take.
I'm chomping at the bit, you understand, to have a go at this. Look,
Yes, please go ahead.
in football, and this is something that people need to really start realizing. In football, roles matter. They will tell you that when you go when you want to play Bayern Munich, the first player that you're looking out for is Harry Kane. Your game plan is how are you going to stop Harry Kane? What do you want to do with Harry Kane? That is just the focus of the game plan. When you play Bayern Munich, it's Lamine Yamal. Your game plan is how to stop him. It's how to stop Lamine Yamal from playing. So now you have to understand that the degree of difficulty that Lamine would have to go through, first and foremost, with respect to the game plan, is going to be different from what Olise is going to see week in, week out.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to double Olise on that side when you have Kane in the middle. You're thinking of how to stop Kane first and foremost. Then you still have but for Barcelona, the way Lamine plays, you understand. If you watch Barcelona games, more often than not, if Lamine plays well, he's one of those players that, like I said, when he plays well, people around him too can play well. Lamine's passing is incredible. Lamine's dribbling is incredible. Lamine's shooting from outside the box, is incredible. His
And his
maturity from his
creativity.
age
For his
is
age,
creative.
yeah,
His
it's
Olise
maturity from
incredible.
his age.
does all of that as well. Olise does all
No,
of
no,
that.
no, not that's what I'm saying.
The
He
difference
does
is,
it. He
yeah,
does it, but Olise doesn't do it to the level that Lamine does it. And when you look at their ages, when you look at how old Olise is now, how old Lamine Yamal is playing look, Lamine Yamal is a phenomenal talent at his
Generational
age.
talent, man. Can't
Look
hear
at
me.
his age, at Lamine's age, the amount of players in world football history that did what Lamine is currently doing. You
A
can count them
handful,
on one
man.
hand.
Yeah, it's a
You
handful.
can count them on one hand. At his age, the
well,
boy is he up to
those are
19 now? I think he may still be 18.
He's 18 right now.
He's
no,
ridiculous. Lamine Yamal is you get see. Well,
when
anyways,
you say the amount of people that have done what he's done, what are you talking about? Like, is
I'm
goal
talking about
contribution?
no. Hear what I'm saying now. I'm talking about the
That level
amount
of
of
influence at
listen,
that age.
the amount of 17-year-olds, even Lionel Messi
At
at
17, wasn't like
17
that. No.
was not considered one of the 5 best players in world football. He
That's not
was
a fair comparison. That's not a
no,
fair.
no, no.
You
Hear
have to
me out.
compare the teams, because like if you look at the team that Barca currently has, and you look at the team that Messi played with, if you had Busquets, Xavi, Iniesta, and the rest in the current Barcelona team, do you think Yamal will have all of that influence? Do you think he will be the one contributing
Again, this
and
is
do all of the
when
things
No,
that
no,
when
he's
no,
doing?
no.
Messi had
That's
Busquets,
that's
Xavi,
my
Iniesta,
that's
Messi
my
wasn't
Look,
18
doctor,
anymore.
get the context. The context is about a 17-year-old doing what he's doing at the
A
level he's
17-year-old
doing
player
it.
okay, but
that
that's on the
if I
assumption
ask you
that in 2, 3, 4 years time he's going to do more. I mean, we're talking about
No, no,
we're
no.
not comparing their
It's
age.
what we're seeing right now.
no. Hear
So,
what I'm
but
saying. Look,
what's
Lamine
the
Yamal.
whole
Listen.
what's the whole stress on
See
the
what I'm
age?
saying.
What's the whole focus?
Lamine Yamal is not a bigger footballing prodigy when compared to Messi. in terms of, you know, as prodigies, you understand?
Yeah.
Messi, you can't compare them. Messi is head and shoulders above Lamine as prodigies. What I mean by that is, at 17, how effective they were with respect to in games. With Messi, you saw a lot of hope. Like you saw what this boy would
Potential.
become.
Yeah.
You saw that potential. You understand? It's crazy.
Well,
Now
Lamine is
with
doing it
Lamine,
right now.
I'm telling. Okay, a typical example is just more or less like when they compared, when Michael Owen talked about he and Thierry Henry, and he was talking about when Owen was 17. When Henry was 17, you couldn't compare
Obviously,
Henry
we're
and
not
Owen
close to
at that
him.
age.
Yeah.
Now we don't know what Lamine will become. What I'm saying to you is, right now, Lamine Yamal, as an 18-year-old, even as a 17-year-old, Lamine Yamal was already considered one of the 3 or 5 best players in
In the
world
world.
football.
Yeah.
Even Messi at that age, Cristiano Ronaldo at that age, Wayne Rooney at that age, it's Ronaldo de Lima. I think that may have been one of the last people to, at that age, be considered one of the 5 best players in the world at that age. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's mad.
Lamine
It's mad.
is something else. For me personally, you understand, he's something else. You get
Okay,
that's just how I feel about
I love that debate. I think we need to clip it, bro. Awesome. So, Doctor, let's talk about the game now. Going to Atalanta's home, smashing them 6-1. Is there any point of having the second leg? Like,
There's
obviously,
no
they have to have the second leg, but looking at how Bayern Munich came into that game and showed the kind of level of confidence they did, are they odds on to go all the way to win this Champions League, in your opinion?
Yeah, but the last time my prediction was Bayern Munich Arsenal final, and then Bayern win it. There's no shocker, there's no surprises. They made a statement, and they needed you guys to know that this is who we are, and then this is what we're. I mean, another thing is mentality. Like Champions League has like a different mentality from the league games, and everyone is trying to show that we can dominate when it comes to this tournament, and then when it comes to this stage. Because I feel that's also what happened in the Madrid and Man City game. It was about the mental, because like on paper, if you look at the lineup, the Madrid didn't feel, because of the injuries they had, like they didn't feel the better team on paper than Man City. But it's about like making a statement and then them showing the mentality that we are a Champions League team. So Bayern totally made a statement. I mean, they are definitely winning the second leg and they're going all the way to the final, in my opinion. I just
Okay,
don't see
awesome.
anybody stopping them.
Awesome. So, Doye, prediction for the second leg, Bayern Atalanta?
I think Bayern smash Atlanta again. Look, that's what Bayern Munich, that's what they do. There is no, I don't think there's a single team in the Champions League history that is better at beating small teams than Bayern Munich. When Bayern Munich meets a small team,
Cook.
they want to let you regret why you had to play Bayern Munich.
But even big teams now, I had the whole 10-2 going on, 5-1,
No.
5-1. Barcelona even had
No.
8-2 at some point. Like those guys,
No,
they are.
no. Yeah, okay, yeah, you get, but again, the Barca team that they beat it to, that team was very, very flawed. You understand? Fantastic result from, but it was a very flawed team. You understand? They beat Arsenal in the past too. But what I'm just saying is generally, you see all those big results you've called that Bayern Munich have had. They've had all those big results, outside the year that they beat the Barcelona. That has been the only year that they've ended up winning the Champions League. But Bayern
Yeah.
Munich, they do this thing whereby they huff, they puff, and then suddenly, they get into a tie in the semifinals, and suddenly the tie is close. It's closer than you'd have expected. It's too close for comfort, and then they go out. If you look at Bayern Munich, outside the year that they won it, they've been almost consistently, you understand, one of the favorites, one of the top teams. When Lewandowski was there, they were doing the same thing, they were smashing teams. And then suddenly, they get to a stage where an Inter Milan just, the game, the ball just doesn't fall for them, and then they're out of the tournament. But I believe that they should be hopeful that Chelsea or Liverpool helps them with the PSG problem that they may have in the semifinals. If that doesn't happen, then that'll be a very good game to watch.
Awesome. So, Doctor, your own predictions for Bayern Munich Atalanta, second leg? 3-1. Okay, do you? I didn't get your predictions. I know you just said you
I
will
think
win.
Bayern Munich will win again 4-0.
Oh my days. Okay. So now let's go to the next game. And this one was just pure comedy in my opinion. Tottenham Atletico. Tottenham has been a team that are currently in shambles, and the sack Thomas Frank, which I feel seemed justified at that point. But in signing Igor Tudor, they haven't become worse. 4 games played for Tudor, 5 goals scored, 14 goals conceded. Then, of course, we had the situation with the whole Anthony Kinski. So, Dr. Nana, is this the right approach to take? Taking out your main keeper that has been with you for the entire campaign and bringing someone new in such a high encounter. And now that I've seen this result that Planet B did, is there any hope back for Kinski?
Is crazy. Funny enough, that was the same decision that Chelsea took, and they had the same scoreline 5-2, 5-2. It's crazy when you want to experiment at this stage of the competition. Tottenham, like you rightly said, they've been in shambles, and they're a team that even in the EPL, if they're not careful, they might relegate, because they're actually really going. They're going close to the relegation zone in the Premier League. So um, they're not a trustworthy team. I wasn't expecting them to win. I mean, I had predicted that Atletico were going to win, but I just didn't think that it was going to be this margin. But again, this whole idea of like experimenting with your goalkeeper at this stage, at this knockout stage of the competition, just doesn't make sense. I don't think they're going to come back for me. It's just, I mean, they're not that team to come back from this 3-goal deficit. No, and not this
Okay.
season.
Okay, fair enough. So during the group stage, for some reason, Tottenham was thinking of the place in the Premier League, but they were notching up the results in the Champions League, and they actually got an automatic top 8 slot. Now, was it a case of the level of position they were playing while they were in the Champions League, or was it just a case of the fact that the Premier League is just too hard and the Champions League was like some respite for them? Now that we're seeing this result now, does it make any sense to you?
It does make sense to me, because we've seen teams that have been very, very poor in one competition do very well in another competition, for some reason. There's something about the Champions League is a competition that isn't played with a lot of intensity. So when you watch the Champions League, more often than not, you can see that the players that are very, very skillful, you understand, players that play with guile and everything, at times they do better in the Champions League than in the Premier League, because in the Champions League they tend to have more space. You get the battles are a bit more tactical, teams from different philosophies, from my country, your country. But in the Premier League, most of the teams, at the core, they may have similar philosophies, because it's the country, you understand. Like if you go to Spain, a lot of teams in Spain want to play all those kind of like intricate. Even the lesser teams in Spain used to be very, very good with the ball, keeping the ball. And back in the days, English opposition had issues with them because of that national philosophy of football. So sometimes it happens like that. I think with Spurs, I cannot recall any major win of note. I think they were lucky. They may have been lucky also with their fixtures, the fixtures they got. Yeah, so all those things matters, you understand, in the Champions League first stage. You have to just hope that maybe when you draw the big teams, you draw the big teams at home. So it's easier for you to win them. And then the smaller teams, you go away. You get I'm coming from, rather than you play the smaller team at home, you are sure you win them. Then you go and lose to the big teams away, that kind of thing. So for them, it could have just been that, I remember that they had they drew Bodo Glimt, and at the point at that time people were laughing at them. Now if you look at it, what a fantastic result that was. I think it was at Bodo. It was at Bodo. They drew Bodo Glimt at Bodo. So generally, anyways, I just think that it's just one of all those footballing phenomena that happens once in a while to certain teams, but eventually, for Spurs, the chicken has come home to roost. Atletico Madrid are a team that play with a lot of intensity, and then I feel sorry for Kinski. Anyways, I don't think the coach made a bad decision to start him. Look, you're the second choice goalkeeper at the top team, I always ask, I say to people, okay, what if Vicario got injured in warm-ups? Are you going to tell me that the second choice goalkeeper is not capable of stepping in
Filling
and
in,
doing the
yeah.
job? So what do you want the coach to do at that point? And then people forget that Vicario has been a mess all
Terrible.
season.
Yeah,
Look,
yeah.
as a fan right now, I'd rather risk it with someone else than stick with somebody that has been serving me. So let me just give you just bear with me. Let me just give you a vague picture. For example, I was telling somebody, I said, had a slot gone to an academy player in the Liverpool game against Galatasaray, had that academy player played exactly like Konate played in that game, today everybody will be saying, why did Slot thrust an academy player into such an environment that the guy struggled because of the environment? And had Konate played, Konate would have done better. Now, so basically, you have a Konate that has been playing trash all season. You have a Vicario that has also been keeping trash all season. Now,
Yeah.
Slot decides to go with Konate. He still goes there, stinks up the place again. This other guy decides to try something new. And the thing he tried, you understand, didn't work out. Look, I'd rather be on the boat of try something new than stick with your tested and not trusted. Because now we've
Yeah.
tested Vicario, we know he's not trusted. We've
Yeah,
tested
yeah, it's
Konate, we know
terrible.
he's not trusted, So again, I don't blame the coach. He kicked the ball. You cannot tell me that the Wando Metropolitan is too raucous for you to handle, like to kick the ball. It's on the goalkeeper. It's on the goalkeeper. You understand? He should be ready. He's Tottenham's second choice goalkeeper, and when he collects his salary, nobody remembers his age. Nobody remembers the pressure of the salary that comes to him. He gets paid.
Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, awesome. So let's look at the fixtures in the group stage. They won Villarreal at home 1-0. They drew 2-2 with Bodo Glimt away. They drew 0-0 with Monaco away. They beat FC Copenhagen 4-0 at home. They lost to PSG 5-3 away. They beat Slavia Prague 3-0 at home. They now won Dortmund 2-0 at home and won Frankfurt 2-0 away. So the fixtures kind of looked very good. It was only the PSG game actually that was in quote the biggest game for them, and they messed it up. So, doctor, honestly, Tottenham has been plagued with so many injuries. Like, you can go on and have a laundry list of players that have been injured for them. But the lads that were available for selection, do you think they are checked out? Because if you look at someone like Van der Ven, against Crystal Palace, he had that penalty, got the red card. Romero is someone that has gone online to his Instagram to talk bad about the club. You have players that are basically not in the same wavelength with the coach and all that. So with the way things are panning out for them now, this Champions League a welcome distraction? Now they are getting this result. What do you think is going to happen to them going forward?
I think things might just get worse because one important factor in everything is harmony and cohesion. If the dressing room there's no unity, and if it gets to the point, for anybody to go on social media to talk bad against the coach or the club, I mean, it would have been like this would have been like a lot that's gone off on
Yeah,
that's gone on offline that we didn't know, and then it just escalated to the point where they take it to the social media. Their poor form didn't start now. I don't know, like for some reason they made it out to the group stage of the UCL, and then we're quite surprised anyways. But with what's going on now, I think it's just going to get worse for them because, well, if they exit from the Champions League, they will have to focus on the EPL, and then hopefully they won't have to have more demands for their players, and in terms of having enough rest and getting
yeah,
recuperated before the next game, so they can focus and see how they can escape relegation. Because I'm seriously saying that if they're not careful, they might just on the last day drop to number 18 on the table. Because they're getting down there. I mean, if not for how far away Wolves is, it would have been close. But anyways, So I just think that because now it's not even the time to get a new manager or try to overhaul the team or try to make serious changes. That's also going to, because like by the time you start making changes like that, they need time for people to blend in and settle in and all of that. So it's an unfortunate situation, So I just think that I feel that things are just going to get worse for them going on.
Yeah, I agree. So, Toye, and what Unplug is saying is very correct. Even last season, Tottenham had a litany of injuries, and this campaign, there was a period when they had like almost 11 players out. And these are not like bench warmers. Thinking about Kudus, Madison, Kulusevski. At some point, Poro was out. At some point, Richarlison was out. So, if the club knew about this level of injuries they've been having, do you think they could have done better in the transfer window? Because this summer their recruitment was decent, but it didn't seem was not good enough. One thing that people talk about how Tottenham is a very rich club, but they don't attract the right level of talent, to match, where their ambitions are. So, what's your take on that?
Again, we have to be very careful when we talk about finances, you understand, and teams, because there's a lot that goes into it, you understand, you get. Now, where am I coming from? How many players, how many first team players does Tottenham have? When they call you a first team player, there's a certain expectation of the amount of wages, you understand, the person is going to be paid.
Yeah.
The risk with signing a lot of players is if you're not now hit with this bad luck, and the injuries that are littered all over the squad, you're now going to have a lot of 80,000, 90,000 grand per week, 100 grand per week players that are out of the first team. When they're out of the first team, you're still having to pay them salaries. It's not healthy for the club. When you look at the amount of the players that Spurs signed, I think it's more of a case of quality, you understand, rather than quantity. From the first time I watched Danso kick and play football in the Premier League, I was like, look. The first time I watched Dragusin in the Premier League, I was like, nope, you're not good enough.
Actually,
you understand? Kolomwani has come to the Premier League, he's struggling. They spent how much on Tel? Tel hasn't really, Matistel, he hasn't really done much for them. Now, Solanke, that's where, with the injuries and everything. But at the same time, when they were going to pay what they were going to pay for Solanke, I was like, look, this is like, it's a bit too much for a player of Solanke's quality, and that was like the first.
He was coming off a 19-goal season, so I think that was fair.
Understand? But that's why you don't jump and buy players based off of one good season or half a good season. Solanke.
But what to do with that with Semenyo now?
Semenyo was not poor last season. Go and look at Semenyo's numbers. Semenyo was a solid. Like a solid EPL player. He had established as a very good EPL player, you understand? Mbeumo was a solid EPL player for a couple of seasons before most of all these guys moved. It was not like they struggled that they had a sport, which is basically like a 6-month sport of good play, then you go and sign him. So they even brought in Paulinho, they brought in Gallagher to help the midfield. They have Bentancur. They have what they call him, this black guy. So Begval. Begval. What was the name of the black Bissouma? They have some other players in midfield. You understand? They have players. Again, now they've been unlucky with injuries, but outside the injuries, what I've seen from Spurs recently, you get, like I said, if I'm any top club, I wouldn't want, even if Spurs go down and some of these players are available for cheap, I'm not going to go to Spurs to go and get a player, because especially the senior players, their mentality is awful.
Yeah,
in Igor first game, you see, football, there's there's how they say that a team usually mimics its managers. Sometimes the team also mimics its best player. How does the best player approach a game at times? Now, if you watch the game against Arsenal, Van der Ven is one of the leaders in that team. Yeah. There was a period where somebody had a video of Igor Tudor, a new manager, telling Van der Ven, push up, push up, push up. He wants you to push up, you know. Van der
And he
Ven,
didn't do anything.
he didn't even communicate or act like the coach was even
Talking to
giving him any
yeah,
instruction, you know.
yeah.
He
I
just
remember that
basically,
clip.
you know,
I saw that clip.
yes,
Yes.
it was like he was deaf to whatever the coach was saying. Now, if you're a young player or one of the other players and you're seeing that from one of the senior players,
You will not
it's going to
regard, man.
affect how it's going to affect you also. So again, so with Tottenham, look, Romero is the captain. Romero is a very reckless footballer. Romero should never be a captain of any football team, even if he's the oldest player, because he's a player that you cannot even trust going
Yeah,
into every game. Romero is a red card risk.
yeah.
He's a red card risk.
It's
We
like,
all know
it's like
Romero.
a ticking time bomb, basically.
Yes, it's very right. You can be rash in a way, like Sergio Ramos now, you know, even though Ramos had that, but in the biggest games,
He has a calm
Ramos
head.
usually reined it in. You know, he had the ability to rein it in. Romero doesn't. So with
Yeah,
Tottenham, the issue, you understand, from the owner, the ownership down, you know, Thomas Frank, I believe that he should have been let go because of how it was trending. However, the
yeah.
choice in Igor Tudor, you
It
went
was baffling, man.
to bring a manager that had no experience in what the EPL game really entails. You brought him in to come and steer a ship that was already, you know, going in the wrong direction. It was going to be a very tall task for him. He's not a fantastic manager to begin with. So that one comes from the top. The team is, it's just a mess. It's a mess from top to bottom at Tottenham.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so predictions. Dwayne, second leg, Tottenham Atletico.
Um, I think I think I think because of how Atletico will want to approach the game,
Satan ball.
I think I think the game might actually be maybe 1-1 draw.
Okay. Dr. Nana,
Yeah, I go with 2-2 draw.
2-2 draw. Awesome. Okay, so let's go to the next game. This was the final game on Tuesday, and this was quite an interesting game. This was one where Newcastle actually had the better stats in the game, 16 shots to Barcelona's 9, 4 shots on target to Barcelona's 2, and even 39 touches in the opposition box. But, you know, when Ashley Barnes scored that goal in the 86th minute, it was well deserved. But obviously, we saw what happened later on. Malik Thiaw put his leg out there and, you know, considered the penalty that Lamine Yamal converted. So, Dr. Nana, looking at this game, was it a big error from Newcastle side allowing Barca back into the tie? Do you think that going into Camp Nou with 1-0 would have given them more confidence, maybe now they are beating Barca, or now that they have now drawn this game, should they just blow the process about the second leg?
See, I think having a 0 advantage would have made them more confidence going to Camp Nou. But even regardless, I feel that if that 1-0 advantage was still there, Barcelona could have, won with more than 2 goals on aggregate. So that allowing Barcelona equalize, and that's why I hate penalties though, because I mean you can play very well for 90 minutes defending and then not conceding a goal, and then just one careless tackle or one mistake can just lead to that penalty. So I think it was very bad that they had to allow the equalizer. I mean, I expected Barcelona to have won in regular time anyway. So, but I saw that Newcastle did a fantastic job. I saw their energy. They tried to use their pace, and then they fought, and they just didn't want to remain an underdog. So they went out there and they gave the game their all. They gave it their best, and then they got a goal. But unfortunately, it was really sad for them to have considered that goal. So it's not good. It's not looking good for them because Camp Nou, we all know, it's not an easy place to play. And then Barcelona, they have the mentality, because in these games, I always say that mentality is key. They know that they can do it, and they are very confident and convinced they can do it. When they lost to Atletico Madrid 3-0 at the Copa del Rey, and then you see the second leg, it ended. Sorry, they lost 4-0. Second leg, it ended 3-0. Second leg ended 3-0 in favor of Barcelona. It could have been 4-0, So imagine if the game had ended 3-0, they could have, come back and equalize and gotten into extra time. So it's not looking very good for Newcastle. So I think Barcelona is going to do the work and get it going.
Awesome. So, Doye, let's talk about Marcus Rashford. When both sides played in the group stages, Marcus Rashford actually stole the show with the brace. But in recent times, he hasn't been playing as consistently. Obviously, you have Rafinha and Yaman ahead of him. Do you think what he has done in Barcelona is enough for them to retain his services, or will he be sent back to Man United in a package wrapper?
I think what he's done is enough for them to want to retain his services. Because you look, when you bring in a player like Marcus Rashford, look at his age, his profile, and everything. Barcelona were not bringing him; they were never bringing him on to become a first team player. What they wanted from Rashford was those moments here and there, and then when or if injuries, you understand, happened, come in
Mhm.
and fill in and do an admirable job, which he's actually done. Rashford he's been good for Barcelona, in some big sports. So yeah, I think he's done enough. And his contract, he knows that if he leaves Barcelona, I don't think another top club is going to touch him right now.
Yeah.
So he would want to stay at Barcelona. He's going to take a team friendly contract, and it's usually easier to get these players on a team friendly deal they've sort of when they've made a lot of money. So Rashford,
Yeah.
his last deal at Manchester United, paid him a lot of money.
Yeah.
He
350.
can
Yeah.
feel like, yeah, I'm set. I can be at Barcelona here and win more trophies and things like that. So
Yeah. Get
yeah,
back to the England squad too.
yeah, so I just feel like, again, Barcelona is good has been good for him. He's been good for Barcelona. Why wouldn't they want to continue with the relationship so far?
Okay, so Dr. Nana, speaking about this game, we all know that Newcastle lost a talisman in Alexander Isak, but they signed Nick Votsmad and also signed Johan Wissa, to provide some depth in attack. But in recent games, those guys have found games hard to come by. And even in a game as big as this Champions League encounter, they played with Osula as a centre forward, and brought on Gordon for him later on. So what has happened to Wissa and Votman? Why hasn't it worked out for them at Newcastle? You're muted. You're muted.
Sorry. So there
Yeah,
could
go
be many
ahead.
factors. Sometimes, like when you come into a club, it's a new environment, a different football pattern from what you're used to, different teammates, and all of that. So those factors could be there playing along. But we saw. I don't. I mean, he was decent at Brentford. I mean, so I don't think he was that fantastic. Anyways, no disrespect. Now, I always like to say that, like, I'm not disrespecting him, but there are levels to this. And Newcastle is a top club. I'm coming from Brentford, and I didn't think that, he was just going to be so very fantastic, and something to remember in the season. The EPL is a tough place to play. Is very hard. They are very tough, many tough teams. It's not like in France or in Germany or in Spain when you have like 2 to 3 teams dominating the whole league. In EPL, anybody can beat anybody. Is very tough. It's a difficult league to play in. So they need time to adjust, and then the team also need time to blend well and get the result that, because I don't know. I mean, Newcastle, the best they can get is a Champions League qualification, and otherwise maybe go to Europa or something. So they're still struggling. It's not necessarily a surprise because like Isak left a shoe that is difficult to fill in because of the records, the statistics in terms of goals that he scored last season, and we saw what he did. So to have lost a striker like that and then bringing in somebody who even from the get-go was predicted as not good as Isak is always going to be a problem. So I hope that the team find a way to figure out. But in this their starting lineup in the Champions League when they started with Osula. I don't know if he's not a regular starter for Newcastle. So maybe
Yeah.
it was the recent goal he scored against Manchester United, and then maybe
Yeah, he
they
was
thought that,
rewarded. Yeah.
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 So, but like again, some of these decisions cannot be taken based on a one match performance. he did what he did, and he went into the left, and then he struck, and then the ball went into the net. That couldn't have just been the reason why they started. Because I'm always an advocate of put your best foot forward, and then if it doesn't work out, you know that you gave it your best, rather than trying to experiment or switch things around and then hoping to get a good result. So, I mean, I feel that probably they should have started with their first team, but at the end of the day, it's Barcelona they played. I didn't think they were going to edge Barcelona out, regardless of who they started, anyways.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so before we leave, let's just quickly talk about what DHS put in the chat. Doya, what's your take on this? So, Wolfmad is not Newcastle's type of striker. Risha came in injured and also had a proper preseason at a go at it. But I think he'll be good next season, but Wolfmad is too slow. So, do you think Risha would really cook for them next season, or do you think they'll need to go to Trafalgar to get someone else at the end of the campaign, seeing how they are in the Premier League and how they might potentially not make Europe this time?
I actually think personally, I actually think Visa is what he is. You understand? Again, he's had a very good season in a smaller club, and he looks like one of those players that did really well when he got consistent games. There are some kind of players that the more they play, the better they will play. While there are some players that you can chop them, you can take them in and out of the lineup. Sometimes it's even when they're out of the lineup, they come in and then they have more of an impact.
Yeah.
So players are just very different, So for Visa, I think he looks like a player that's confidence. When confidence is high, he's playing and then everything. But I think next season it's still going to be Voltemade for them. Look, we have to remember how Voltemade started the season, and he was very, very good when the season started. Voltemade has, when you play quick wingers from the left and from the right, you have a player like Voltemade that can drop deep and then win the ball and then lay it off and things like that. So again, I believe that Voltemade is actually the way to go, not even Visa. With Newcastle, they've just been in a funk this season for some reason. I don't know what their problem is, but if you look at Newcastle, if you remember, we did some earlier shows where Newcastle, I think myself, you and Samdi, where Newcastle were low on the table, and then when we're predicting people that were going to come up into the top 10, we spoke about the idea that Newcastle, we're going to make that run or that push. You understand? But sadly, it hasn't happened for them. But I just believe that. With Newcastle, I don't know. Maybe last season you've won your trophy, eventually won your trophy. Then it's just generally just a down year, and next year they can kick on. And you have to remember, the Premier League is a very, very physical league. Voltemade, the way he plays, he puts himself about and everything. It can wear him down. Now it's more or less like you now know what the league is about. You know what you're going to have to go and do in the summer. I'm not just speaking about Voltemade now. Maybe even somebody like Florian Wirtz. If you watch Florian Wirtz, it took time, but he started. And when he was struggling in the Premier League, in the Champions League, he was playing better actually because the games weren't as physical. So with Voltemade, I believe it's the same kind of thing whereby when he starts getting a bit stronger, you get where I'm coming from. He gets more used to the wear and tear. Like he's not going to wear down as quickly. Like halfway through the season, you understand, he's already worn down. If he shares time with Visa and everything, I think he is actually the answer for them. And if you look at the amount they bought him for, you cannot spend. You can't spend. You can't spend close to 80 million on a center forward. You spend 55 million on another center forward, and then when you look at Newcastle, a team that have been having PSR issues and things like that, you now come the next season to go and spend how much on a center forward again? If you're going to go and get another center forward, then you have to let probably Voltemade go because he's not. You don't spend 80 million pounds on a player to come and sit on your bench, especially if you're Newcastle United.
Yeah. Okay, so now, at some point, we started seeing Voltemade in attacking midfield for Newcastle with Gordon playing ahead of him. That was a tactical decision that kind of, made me go crazy. And I don't know if you have noticed it in their games recently. What's your take on that? Sorry, we're not hearing you, bro. Can you hear him?
No, I can't hear him.
Do you want to check your sound settings?
I think it's from him. I can't hear him also.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we can't hear you, doctor. Okay, so maybe when you speak, we can get back to you. We'll just try. Okay, so let's go to the next game. And this one was the whole world was waiting for us on this, man. You know, Arsenal
Is my
actually
name
got
the whole world?
Arsenal.
Is my name the whole world?
Yeah. So the Arsenal Leverkusen, you know, there's some expectations going into this game. For me as an Arsenal fan, I can categorically tell you that this was a very poor game by our standards. This was one of Saka's worst games I've seen him play in a very long time, and I was actually happy to see him get subbed for Madueke. You know, there was a time in our lives where if Saka is playing and is injured or is not in poor form, he'll play all 90. But now we have a guy who has come to at least challenge him. And Madueke comes into this pitch, does his thing, and eventually wins the penalty that was converted by Havertz. So my first question to you, Doye, is what's your take on the whole Saka and Madueke dynamic from a neutral standpoint?
I think it's not even a question of like it's not a question. You know, Saka has to start. I wouldn't want to say he's earned it because I believe you have to consistently like your recent performances are what earns you more time. You understand in the team, but Saka has shown that he can operate at a level that Madueke hasn't yet proven he can get to.
True.
I genuinely believe that. You see, and it's a very funny old game. Saka has been struggling recently. Surprise, surprise. Arsenal. I believe that Arsenal have not really hit that stride offensively.
Yeah.
When Saka struggles, I believe Arsenal struggle to play offense because look, Saka is the one player at Arsenal that usually draws consistent double teams. So he takes two players, 2-3 players. You have to always keep an eye on Saka. 2-3 players that creates more room for Odegaard and then even the striker and the other players. You understand to do what they do. So his lack of form, as people would have a recent lack of form. You get it's also affected the Arsenal team. As an opponent, I'd rather see Noni Madueke lining up against my team than Bukayo Saka every day of the week. So I think Arteta has to manage it carefully without letting Saka feel like, irrespective of how his form is not, he will always be on the team sheet. You get I'm coming from. Saka looks like a humble player that he's not even going to let those things get to him. And also not really alienate Madueke in the sense that still give him more, be giving him the games. Madueke, the good thing about his game is more like he can be an impact type of player. Now he may not really have an impact in terms of goals or assists at times, but with the way he plays, he's almost always going to running at the team, sort of helps push them back. Yeah, so that it helps push the team back, and then in terms of positional play, Arsenal will find themselves in more advanced positions to help the whole team and everything. So it's a good problem to have. Madueke has, for considering the ridicule that he went underwent when he got signed. He's been one of their better signings this season. You get so kudos to him, and but I just believe that if you want to win the amount of trophies that are available to Arsenal, if you want to capitalize it, then you have to find a way to get Saka back playing as close to his best.
True. Yeah, and I'm talking about how Saka, Odegaard, and Martinelli have been struggling, and that's true. So, Doctor, can you just speak if you can hear you now? No, I can't. We can't still hear you. Maybe do you want to log out, then log back in? Yeah, let's try that. So I have a couple of questions I want to ask you. and all that. Okay, so now let's talk about Leverkusen. They lost Flecken. No, they lost Radecki, they lost Vets, they lost Frimpong, they lost Xhaka, they lost Hinkapie, and of course their manager Jabi Alonso also left. So clearly this is a club that is currently in transition. They now signed the great Baldy, Eric Ten Hag, and after 3 games, they saw the light and let him go. Obviously, now they have Kesper Hushman they're managing them and they're sixth in the Bundesliga. So, with the amount of players they have lost, how has the transition been, in your own opinion?
They have struggled, but I think they still they've struggled a bit because I know that it's very funny. There's a Twitter handle I follow, Hater Central, and there was a period where don't worry, I'm not the one behind the handle. I know you may think that I'm the one behind the handle, but
Yeah,
I'm not the one
I
behind the
actually
handle.
think you had the
Yes,
handle, man.
my hate hasn't gotten to that level. It's getting there, but not yet.
I
Anyways,
agree, bro.
when there was a period where they were having like a real back and forth with Bayer Leverkusen, where they were going after Leverkusen, where Leverkusen had like a couple of games they were struggling and things like that. But to still be in sixth, they've tried. The Bundesliga is just a funny league in the sense that the only constant thing in the Bundesliga is
It's
Bayern
Bayern.
Munich. Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
only constant thing in the Bundesliga. You have teams that have won the league, and then a couple of seasons later,
they disappear. You
yeah,
know,
they've really disappeared and everything.
and
So
remember how they had Wolfsburg that won with Edin Dzeko and Graffiti. And
there
now
was a
Wolfsburg
period
is
where
not
not
existing
just
anymore.
Wolfsburg. I think was it.
Stuttgart
I
with
think
Mario
Stuttgart, yeah,
Gomez.
Stuttgart also came in and won. And then eventually, most of all those teams they faded away. If it's not Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund, the teams are not really there
Yeah,
long as long. So Bayer Leverkusen they did well. They are now going in transition. I think they did a very it was very important keeping Grimaldo because he's been one of their better players
yeah,
this season.
2 goals,
And
man. Yeah,
from left back he pops up with a lot of goal contributions. He also had the
yeah,
assist for the goal against Arsenal. So
yeah.
it was a good game for them. It's just been a good season for the fans. I don't think committee they didn't expect much considering how it
Mhm.
also started with the coach and everything. So to still be in the Champions League at this stage, and then going into a second leg against Arsenal with even if it's a draw, they almost beat Arsenal, and this is the closest that any team has come to beating Arsenal in the Champions League this season.
True.
It's arguably one of the better performances against Arsenal in the Champions League this season also. So kudos to them. They did a good job.
Okay. Nana, can we hear you now?
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yeah.
finally, man. Shit. Okay, bro. Now let's talk about Vitor Gyökeres. 97 goals in 102 games. There was so much expectations on him coming into the club. Well, he has really had his on and off moment. Arsenal fans have become quite frustrated. As a neutral looking from out in, what's your take on Gyökeres' performance at Arsenal so far? And do you think they may need to get a new striker in the summer?
To get a new striker. There are a couple of factors. He's not playing so badly. I mean, there were times when attention was drawn to Saka and Odegaard not feeding him adequately enough. There were narratives and videos circulating. What's that? There were narratives and videos circulating over the social media on when he opens and then they don't feed him the passes. So that
Yeah.
also contributed because that's the thing about having creative players. Like they don't play fundamental football. Like fundamental football is in the sense that if your player is in a good position, you just give the ball to them and then they do what they need to do. But creative players will only have like three, one, two, three, four options of what they can possibly do, and they will choose either any one of them depending on how they feel. So he's not for somebody who came from a Portuguese league to an EPL, which is obviously a tougher league than the Portuguese league, and with the number of goals he's had so far, I don't think for for his debut season, it's not bad. It's not. He hasn't gotten to the point where Arsenal need to start considering another striker. No, I mean they're top on the EPL. They're at the highest level of the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup. So they are also in the Champions League knockout. So the team has not been doing so well. He might actually not have been getting all the goals people expected him to have, but the team have been scoring goals enough to keep them where they are in terms of position. So overall, I think there's nothing wrong going on so far. I mean, it's just expectation based on what we're used to seeing him do, which he did
Yeah.
in a lesser league. So I think it's all about expectations. So if you say that he's, it can go to the point where Arsenal will have to get another striker. No, I don't think so. It's just expectations and reality going on. But I think he's settling in, and then I feel that he'll score a lot more goals next season.
Okay, so today let's talk about the defense. There's been so much talk about how Arsenal, the defense, the best defense in Europe, EDDR. And in the Champions League, I think they considered the least amount of goals. It was only 4 goals, one against Inter, one against Bayern, and of course the Kairat Amati goal that is considered 2. But Arsenal has always been a team that has been good in defending set pieces as well as conceding set pieces. So my question is, what is your take on Leverkusen doing Arsenal and Arsenal? I had read somewhere that Ateta had showed the players the clip of how Leverkusen plays their corners, and it was entered the same way it was. So, any take on Arsenal's defense? Do you think there are any improvements that need to be made? Are some players tired? Do you think Timber needs to be rested for White? Should Mosquera come in ahead of either Gabriel or Saliba? There's something to get your honest take on that.
Firstly, I don't think Leverkusen beat Arsenal and Arsenal because the set piece they scored, the corner kick they scored, the amount of players in the 6-yard box were not up to 6 pushing the goalkeeper and pushing other players. It was swung in, and then to the far post, and then the player got his head on the ball. So yeah, that is like a traditional or what we've expected from corner kicks in the olden days, not the royal or the battle royale that is happening now during every set piece. So that's number one. Number two, with respect to Arsenal's defense, look, people. So this is my take. You understand? I think Arsenal have very good defenders. They are very good defenders that work very, very hard. They work very well as a unit. Now, the more important thing with respect to Arsenal's defending as a whole is not just even the back four. It's it's from the attack, the unit, the way Arsenal, the way they shuffle, the way they pass responsibility off to one another from the front three to the midfield. That's where a lot of the work is done with respect to Arsenal. And then when you look at it, some games, Trossard plays, Martinelli plays, Saka hasn't really been himself. All those things. I think some of all those things can be the reason why, you can cascade down and then to the defense. With respect to the defense, you don't have to touch anything. The defense is one position where coaches make the fewest changes for a reason. There's a reason why they make the fewest changes in goalkeeping and defense normally. You understand? You have to give them a reason to go away from what they are very, very comfortable with. Timber is what Timber is. He's going to be a very tough, hard-nosed defender, hard to get past. Going forward, he's not going to give you much. Occasionally, he can give you something here and there, but he isn't the type of fullback like a Reece James or or Trent or all those kind of players. Yeah, even White was doing a better job, of going forward and then being a real dynamic threat. And if you look at it, when people talk about Saka's regression, you understand? Does it also coincide with Timber coming into the team ahead of White? Because this dynamics, it does play a part. You understand? So I think for the defense, it should pick itself. You get the only chopping and changing that you may want to do is maybe Calafiori for Hincapié here and there, depending on what what you're looking for. If you're playing a team maybe like a Leverkusen, that you need your left back when he goes forward because he's going to have a lot of opportunities to go forward to be productive with the ball, then maybe you can pick Calafiori because he's quite productive with the ball, going forward. Hincapié is no slouch, but I think Calafiori is better in that aspect.
Yeah, going forward.
So overall, you don't tamper with Gabriel and Saliba. Look, you look at it and you may have sometimes you have it so good that you just want to think, you want to touch something here, you want to touch something there. You can come to Anfield and take Konate. When he touches something for you, you understand what you have with Gabriel and
I
Saliba,
agree,
you
man.
understand. So overall, you get it is what they are. They work together. They've proven that they can work together as a unit. That is the most important thing when it comes to the back four. This same back four, they've mostly gotten Arsenal to where you are, where you're poised, you understand,
Yeah,
to win, to at least end the season breaking your trophyless drought. So
yeah.
why
Because
tinker
if
with
it's
it
not
now?
broken, don't fix it. Yeah, yeah,
You
fair
go
enough.
and tinker now, they'll start accusing you of what they happened to Kinski. Again, this life.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. You can satisfy everyone. Yeah, Calafio is really made of glass. So predictions, do you? Arsenal
I
Leverkusen
think,
second leg.
yeah, I think Arsenal will win comfortably. Probably 3-0.
Dr. Nana.
Yeah.
So I didn't get that. Your audio is out again.
What's going on?
Okay, he's back now. So what's your prediction, bro?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, Arsenal 2, Leverkusen 0.
Okay, great. Okay, so three more matches to cover. Now let's talk about this one. This one, I think, is very straightforward. These guys are currently not even playing in their league, but their league is over. But they've been using the Champions League just to stay fit. And Bodo Glimt's last five Champions League game results have been Man City 3-1, Atletico's home 2-1, Inter Milan 3-1, Inter Milan again 2-1, and now Sporting CP 3-0. These guys, man, they're like the fairy tale team of Champions League this campaign, but I think a quarterfinal spot should be more than okay for them to be eliminated from, right?
Well, when you're fairy tale, I hope their fairy tale, sees them get at least to the semifinals. That's my prayer, for Bodo.
as a
So,
hater, right?
well,
Winning
as
Arsenal.
a lover of Bodo Glimt, we are talking about Bodo Glimt, right? I'm
Yes.
talking about Bodo Glimt. Like I'm wishing them well. And how am I a hater? I'm wishing Bodo Glimt well. These stories are these stories are good for football. You understand? So fairy tale. Why would I want a
Okay,
fairy tale run to come to
good,
an
good
end
for football at whose expense?
at
That's what I'm
the
saying.
expense of Sporting? At the expense of Sporting.
No, but
Only.
get to the semi-final. They need to be Arsenal. They need to beat the winner of Leverkusen versus Arsenal.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
being
oh,
sarcastic now. Come on, crazy
I
guy.
had no idea. This is music to my ears. I had no idea. I was just wishing them well. But since I did not know and I'm wishing them well, maybe God will just do it for us. You understand?
Maybe
Because
shoe fits.
it will bet a generational cooking. You understand? Don't
But
you want to eat that kind
Yeah.
of meal?
bro,
So,
if
anyways,
this happens, well, this is why we love the game. Actually, if you are,
you understand? You are in sync with me. You understand?
Ah,
Anyways,
my
so
days.
Bodo Glimt, but honestly speaking, I believe that the Sporting tie should be
It's
over.
done. Yeah.
And I
It's
believe
smooth.
that, and I genuinely believe that they'll do a bit of rah 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 against Arsenal, but
they'll crush
eventually Arsenal will push. Yeah, yeah, it will be one step to. But I believe Arsenal like when I saw the draw, I said, look, Arsenal are getting to the finals. When I saw the draw,
Yeah.
because of their routes. But anyways, let's not get there. But I just, but the Glimt, fantastic for them, fantastic for their fans.
Yeah.
This is what the Champions League, is all about. This is why they expanded the Champions League to give some of these smaller teams a chance. And then when it's knockout football, cup football, anything can happen at any time on any day. So yeah,
Yeah.
kudos to them. They've been fun to not just again. It hasn't just been fluky wins. They
Yeah.
rock up.
They're
They
actually
rock
playing
up
good
to
football.
yeah. They rock up to your house and then they put their feet on your sofa and ask you for Inter Milan. Please go and get us. You understand? A bottle of beer. We want to relax here. They've been fantastic.
Yeah, and there's a comment. He said, "Don't be surprised if Arsenal gets knocked out of the round of 16." Ooh, interesting. That's a fellow hitter like you. And of course,
Yeah,
on club or like if Gala knocks you out, you're gonna get cooked for sure. Oh, of course. But as you dish, you need to also know how to take too. So that's all
I'm
about
already I'm already inside the pot. I'm waiting for Gala. If Gala don't do it, I know that PSG. Look, you see, PSG gave me a nightmare in last season in
Anfield.
France. I have
Yeah, yeah.
never seen Liverpool play that poorly against anybody
Yeah,
in
but
my
you
whole
won
life.
though. You still won.
No, you don't understand. If we
And
won, we could have easily lost the game
yeah,
5-0.
Alice,
That
Alice
game,
made Alice made
no,
a
it
thousand
wouldn't have
saves that
flattered
day,
them.
man.
It wouldn't have flattered them. So again, I'm well and through. As I saw the draw and I saw PSG there, I just knew that look, get to the quarterfinals, just enjoy it. You understand while it's here. Some people are going to live in the round of 16, but all glory be to God.
Okay, so Dr. Nana, there's a comment that been made here by DHS Unplugged saying how the Bodo Glimt uses a synthetic pitch. Is that really a problem? And these guys are professionals to also play as well as grass and synthetic. Like in tennis, you play in hard court, you play in grass, you play in clay.
But they won.
Is it a problem?
They won Atletico in Spain.
Yeah, and that was
So
grass.
They won. They went to they went to in-
they went to Italy.
they went to Italy and rocked up
Yeah,
Inter Milan.
at
Yeah,
San Siro. So I mean, I mentioned last time we talked about them. I said that's how we watched Leicester win the EPL that year. In fact, they kept scoring 1-1 goal in subsequent matches. It's tough to admit that they're going to get past Arsenal, but let's watch. This is why we love the game, to be honest.
yeah, yeah.
Nobody expected Leverkusen to draw Arsenal 1-1. I mean, if not for the penalty, Arsenal would have lost that game anyway. So nobody expect
Yeah.
things that are happening
I,
in
I,
these games.
I'm surprised we did not no question was posed about the penalty. It's okay. We know these things. We know these things.
Okay. Let me allow you cook. So, Duye Apa, what is your take on the penalty?
Okay, on the penalty,
Yes.
you're even going to be surprised. Yeah, like I said, yeah, I've said it. It was a clear dive from Noni Madueke. Now, understand the fact that it's a dive does not mean that it's not a penalty. But
Mm-hmm.
I just felt it was too soft. There's some dives that I remember there was a game that Liverpool played where Diogo Jota went past the goalkeeper nicked his ankle and then he collapsed when he could have scored an empty net. It was a penalty, but it was a clear dive. It's just one of those kind of incidents where if the referee didn't give it, I doubt VAR calls the referee over to see anything. But if the referee gives it, VAR wouldn't have, because you can see the contact, even though you know that contact can't it couldn't knock the player down. But again, like you and I were discussing before, then I'm an advocate of going down, bending the laws as much as possible, to help your team go through. Manchester United won the Champions League. You don't know what would have happened. Is it not 2008 had Eto'o decided to stay to go down in the first leg when Ferdinand hacked him. So these things happen. You get go
Yeah.
down, buy your team, give your team a better chance in the second leg. Madueke did what he was meant to do. But it was very soft. For that, the timing, it just reminded me of the penalty that Real Madrid got against Juventus. The game where Juventus were beating Real Madrid 3-0 in the second leg at the Bernabeu, and then they gave them one reckless penalty at the end of the game. So maybe Arsenal has met Perez, and then they are in
Okay,
business. They know the people that are.
but can you compare it to the backup PSG, that 6-1, where they had like all sorts on that night?
No, that
That
backup
one
PSG
was
this backup play. The backup PSG wasn't really, for me. It wasn't really as big a controversy. The one that was the controversy with respect to Barcelona was the one against AC Milan, where they hadn't even played the corner kick, and Nesta was holding somebody in the box, and the referee saw the contact and waited for them to just kick the ball. As they kicked the ball, referee blew penalty.
that's
But the
what's up.
backup
That's
PSG, I
what's
didn't
up.
really,
That's what's up.
yeah, I didn't really feel it was as egregious as that.
Okay, awesome. Doctor, any thoughts on the penalty incident?
Well, I mean, it looked soft, but I think it was a penalty. It looked like there was no contact, and then there was another angle where you can actually see the contact. I mean, you have to consider all of these things in entirety, and not just look at it from what that
Yes,
penalty was.
boss.
But it is what it is. I always say this because I played football and I played central defense like most of the times, like when I played actively in the uni. There are certain tackles at certain times that you should avoid at all costs. You understand? Like
You look like Tosin.
So basically, are you telling us that there were games where they approached you before the match to concede for a penalty and you considered the penalty? Is that what you're
certain
telling
tac-
us?
there are certain tackles that I actually avoided because when you cause that penalty, the likelihood of scoring that goal increases. Because like if they had not if Madeke was not brought down, we don't know if the ball was going into the net, like if he would have scored the goal. So, but like I'm saying, at some critical time, there are certain contacts you just avoid, and then you hope that the person misses the ball. Because by the time you bring the person down and he's given a penalty, they have like a greater chance of scoring that goal. So I think sometimes like defenders should put up some of these things into consideration. It's very careless, considering that penalty at the time. Same thing happened to Newcastle. You
Yeah.
just can't consider that penalty. It made a great if like that one goal has just changed a lot of things. I mean, we expect Arsenal to beat them very comfortably at the Emirates. But then we don't know because like there was a whole how many minutes of game played in Germany and Arsenal couldn't score a goal. So
Yeah.
it is what it is. But let's see what happens in the second leg.
Okay. So Doye, Bodo Glimt,
Yeah.
what in second leg? Prediction?
With the way Bodo have been playing, I'm not going to be surprised if they rock up there and beat Sporting again. Maybe probably 2-1.
Doctor?
Yeah, I'll go with a 1-1 draw.
Okay. So, Doctor, just to let you know, this Unplug said that before you comment again, remember 5-2. And that's where
Is
we're
that
going right
is
now.
that is hard to forget? It's hard to forget.
Okay. So, first things first, we had a discussion about Kinski and Vicario. Doctor, as a Chelsea fan, talk me through the reason behind Jorgensen ahead of Sanchez.
Seriously, don't know what Rosino tried to do. I don't know his reason behind starting Jorgensen like ahead of Sanchez. Like I said, you have to put your best foot forward. If it doesn't work, you know that you gave it your best, rather than try to do an experiment and it doesn't work, and you start coming up with the narrative that, oh, what if we had used the best keeper, it wouldn't have happened. But from his explanation, I think he thinks that Jorgensen has a better ball playing attributes than Sanchez.
Man, please, can you miss me with that ball playing crap?
It
Ten Hag
doesn't.
actually sent the gear away because of a ball playing keeper called Onana, right? And we saw how that panned out.
Yeah. What was it?
You know,
What?
sorry, let me just ask you. You remember that Pep Guardiola also sent away Joe Hart looking for a ball playing goalkeeper, ended up with Ederson and won
No, no,
everything.
no, 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 he got Bravo
Just saying.
first. Bravo didn't work
But
out.
he
And
ended
now
up
got
with
Ederson.
Ederson and won everything. I'm just saying.
Oh,
Devil's
well, fair
advocate.
enough, fair. Okay,
But
yeah.
you know what? You have to put everything into consideration. Chelsea do not have very stable center backs, and the defense is shaky. You have to have a very confident back four and people that are actually good on the ball, like people with very good ball control, people who are confident on. When you people like Chaloba and what's
Fofana.
his name, Fofana. I mean, they're not like the best defenders when you come to all of these things. Like, if you want to start building your game from the back, it's either you have like midfielders that are dropping deep to collect the ball, or you have defenders who are actually confident enough to hold the ball. Because at the time when Jorgensen started making those mistakes, that's when you should have sent the word to him and then maybe probably change his tactics and say, okay, for safety reasons. When we played football those days, there's always this thing about safety first, safety first. That it happened the first time, it happened the second time, and then he kept doing it. So at the end of the day, it's better for you to be safe. If you load the ball up front and then we get dispossessed and they come back at us, then so be it. But it's very foolish when you're trying to like build from the back and then you get dispossessed and then they miss a goal from that mistake. And then you keep doing the same thing, and then look at what it cost us. I don't think we had a very bad game, to be honest. It was just some foolish errors that led to that 5-2. I was even happy with the 3-2. And then at this stage of the turn of the competition, you have to take your chances, because if you see PSG's third goal, we had a chance where Kopama had a shot on target, and then we almost scored, and then they countered us, and then Dembele scored the goal. So you have to put all of these things into consideration. I don't think that whole ball playing thing and building from the back, it has not always been our gameplay anyways. Now we are metamorphosing into something. It used to be back in the days, Lampard loads it for Drogba, he chests the ball and then he plays the shot, one way or the other. Now that we're beginning to adapt into this kind of gameplay, like, it's something that takes time. Anyway, maybe sometime in the future we'll get better at it, but right now it's not working. And it's better to be safe than sorry. It's not working. It just cost us a huge embarrassment yesterday, and it wasn't even funny. It wasn't even funny.
How will you say it was not funny? How will you say it was not funny? Say to me, to you.
Was it funny to you?
It was funny to me. I think Anthony, wasn't it funny to you?
It was very funny now. Come on.
Yeah, so please let us speak accordingly.
Right? Yeah, you had a terrible game against Gala, and you're ready for a hate watch on Wednesday. Yes. Hate watch just lined itself up for you. So now, using your hate watch eyes, can you help me analyze how the game was for you, PSG Chelsea?
It was a very scary game. It was a very scary game. It was a very scary game in the sense that Chelsea did not deserve to lose. They deserve, if one team deserved to win the game, it was Chelsea. And these are usually the best. You get the best for me, where your hard work and you do everything right, your hard work and everything, and then it all just comes apart, and then it's just a disaster for you. It was beautiful to watch. The end of the game was beautiful to watch. As at when the tie was 4-2. Yeah, I said something. I said, and I posted it on the platform. I said, in the Champions League, you don't win a tie in the first leg, but you can lose a tie in the first leg.
Yeah.
And Chelsea trying to get the game to 4-3. Ended up conceding the fifth, which may, or hopefully, God willing, is has put them out of it, because if they come back, it will be a disaster. Please. Yeah. But anyways, so it was a beautiful game. I think Luis Enrique not starting Kvaratskhelia was a mistake. Starting Doué and Barcola, they're two players that are a bit similar, too similar-ish for me. I like Kvaratskhelia in that team. Why? Because from everybody in the front three, he's the one that makes the ball stick. Chelsea did a fantastic job of nicking every line-breaking pass into the final third. Now, in that the player the ball was getting to was like tightly marked, which affected his first touch. Then a second Chelsea player pounced and then nicked the ball. Or as the pass was going through, somebody got a boot onto the ball to deflect the ball, and Chelsea picked up the second ball to counter. Chelsea looked very, very dangerous. Chelsea played a very, very good game. You understand? And it was still all for naught. So I was really ecstatic about that fact. PSG, the Club World Cup. PSG, they owed us. PSG owed the world of football, to pay back what they caused. Even this one is not even enough.
It's not even
paid back fully.
I can be telling he's a champion of the world. Do you know that?
So what PSG have done is still not enough. So we hope that in the second leg they can try and make it at least. You have to when you make a mistake, you try and pay it back. But overall, Chelsea impressed me. They scared me. They scared me in that game.
So I want you to comment on this.
Yeah.
Unplug said that it's about recognizing your team's strengths and knowing your position's tactic. Pedro, Lyndon, Liam should have held the handbrakes at 2-2. What I was doing the hate watch. When I saw that Enzo scored that goal to make it 2-2, Chelsea should have at least controlled the game, right? Maybe bring in another DM, just do something to at least hold up. But they're playing from the back. We saw how that happened. Everything I loved the goalkeeper. As a Chelsea fan, at 2-2, what were your honest reactions?
I was even happy at 3-2, to be honest. If the game had ended 3-2, I mean, I'll still be hopeful, very more hopeful than I am right now, because we didn't really play badly. It was just we just needed to have controlled the game. Just like you said, it probably would have been the best time to bring in what's his name, Lavia, or Santos, some other person into the midfield, and then see how we can, because those are actually players that can help control the game at the time. I don't even get the point of always bringing in Delap into the game, man. He's an Ipswich player, decent at Ipswich, but I don't think he's a Chelsea level kind of player. Because even when João Pedro didn't have the best game, but even when he was off and then Delap came in, we could see that it would have been better we left João Pedro. So I agree. It's about knowing your team's strength and all that. Our defense is not the best. So to expect for that defense to build up game teams, they always make mistakes. When you pressurize those defense, they make mistakes. They lose the ball. They're not their ball control and the confidence they have at the back. It's not really the best. So at the time when it was 2-2 or even if it was 3-2, we could have found a way to actually just control the game. I mean, he's done it a couple of times, but I don't know what happened yesterday. First of all, the keeper was a wrong choice to start with. I mean, no disrespect to him. I saw that whole attitude and everything, and I also feel that the team is young. They need a better leader because, I mean, I don't know. There's this sentiment about Rhys James being an academy boy, a Chelsea product, and an English person. I mean, I saw him wear captain band when Thiago Silva was there. That was wrong for me in every aspect, So the team is young. They need an experienced person who will actually lead the team, somebody who can make decisions on the pitch, talk to the players and try to bring some influence into the game. I think that's everyone is, doing whatever. Pedro Neto is here, Enzo Fernandez was shouting at the keeper, everybody, there's no leadership, there's no fear factor, everyone is just there's that individual talent there, but that co-coordination and an experienced person who influences them in a way that at some point when it's needed, they have that backup and they're able to be stable together and not just running around and trying to make a point. So I feel that those are the things he needs to address, but I don't think he's the guy to actually address those things because he's young as well, and then he's looking like a bit adventurous to me than focusing on what's actually important in the game and paying attention to those minute details.
Yeah, so fair enough. So your predictions, Doctor? Stamford Bridge? 4-0.
Chelsea 3, PSG 1.
Ouch. Do you? Apachino?
I think the Stamford Bridge game, probably Chelsea 2-1.
Awesome. Okay, now we're going to review the last game. It's been fun with you guys so far, man. So let's end this with the right cook. So before we start talking about Real Madrid, Unplug is saying that Pedro Neto is part of the leaders. That tells you where Chelsea is at the moment. Wow, okay, this one was one that I didn't see on my bingo card. When I saw the lineup for Real Madrid, I actually thought Man City was going to get something out of this game. But we go into the game, Federico Valverde was unplayable, and annoyingly, Vinicius Junior had the penalty that could have made the game 4 and it had been game set match, but he missed it. So, Toye, do you think Man City has what it takes to do a remontada?
Yeah, they do have what it takes to do a remontada, partly because Real Madrid are not the team we think Real Madrid to be. They're not a very good defensive side. Football, it's all about mindsets, and one of the biggest problems with taking a very, very big lead into a second leg is
complacency.
It can get not just the complacency aspect. If results start drifting out of your control, there's a fear of what you are about to lose. I don't know if you understand.
Like the Juventus when they led 3-0 before going to extra time.
Yes, and when they start coming back, you understand there's a fear about so you're no longer simply focused on that game. You're thinking about how will it look if we've lost, we are losing this league. You understand? If you, I'll give you a very big example. If you watched the behind the scenes footage of the Barcelona versus Liverpool tie, where Liverpool came back from this thing down, if you look at the Barcelona players, even from the first, when it was 1-0, because of the way the game had gone in the first half, you understand? The backup players were not even looking confident. There was that, what is happening? We are not playing out. You start to think, and when you start to think too much, you start to complicate things in your own head. Then mistakes can now happen, and then it ends up just happening to you. It's like a slippery slope. So 3-0 should be game, set, and match. However, I was of a different opinion to you when I saw the lineup for the lineup. I believe that Madrid could get something from the game. Why? You don't. And Pep is fond of it, but he's won what he's won, so it's very difficult to really question Pep at times.
Yeah.
But in very, very big games, whenever Pep has decided to take very big gambles in big games, it doesn't pay off for Pep. It rarely pays off for Pep. Big gambles in big games really pay off for Pep. What he was thinking, I don't know. How you start Haaland, Semenyo,
come on,
Savinho, Doku. Savinho, you get, and then you now have Bernardo Silva, who is not a central midfield player, but can do a job for you in central midfield. You now have him alongside Rodri that has struggled in space, covering space since he's come back from his injury. You understand?
Injury. Yeah.
It was just a recipe for disaster. And if you look at Manchester City, when they moved Nico O'Reilly from left back into the midfield three, it's when they went on. That's when they went on their run.
Yeah.
On the run of victories that really brought them back into the EPL title race. I don't think O'Reilly played the game against Forest that ended up 2-2. He missed that game, and then they dropped points. So what makes you suddenly want to go back to O'Reilly as a left back when Nori had done a very good job there for the longest period, and Nick O'Reilly has been very good in midfield alongside with Bernardo Silva? Why are you playing Savinho? Let's stick Semenyo on one side, let Doku, lick him up on the other side, and then I would have been happy by now, but unfortunately, so going into the second leg, it's a case of if Madrid can beat City 3-0, City can definitely beat Madrid 3-0. You understand? It's a case of trying to get the first goal, take a lead into the halftime, come after halftime, try and get one. Even if you're getting your one in the 70th minute, there is no away goal again. Once you get one, Madrid will be in a whole world of panic. And considering how their season has been panning out, this is one of the last opportunities they have for a silverware. The league, they are 4 points behind Barcelona, you understand. So this is one of the bigger opportunities that they have. And so but personally, I don't see it happening. But I'm saying that it's feasible. You understand? It's still like for a team as with the quality of Man City.
Yeah, makes sense. So, Doctor, Man City are trying to equalize or trying to get a goal back in the game, and you see the likes of Cheki, Mamouche, Reinders coming on, but there was no place for Foden. Where did he go wrong for that player? For now, just 2 seasons ago, he was the player of the year in the EPL. And even this season, he started and played almost 19 games in a row. Then he just started getting benched. And since he got benched, he hasn't physically featured for them, only a couple of games. So, what do you think he got wrong for him this season?
It's difficult to understand what is going through Pep's head. You know, even from when we play fantasy football, you're always skeptical when you're choosing a City player because Pep always makes his decision and he might start anybody that he thinks. But Odin has spent some time in this City squad and he's done well in other Champions League. He's had Champions League experience. I don't see any reason. I was even surprised to see Doku on the starting lineup yesterday. I think Foden deserves to be on the team because he's got some experience. I mean, he's got some experience. He's got some Champions League experience as well, and he's one of the players who has caused trouble. And he's been tactical. He knows how to finish. Yeah, even though when I think that he can be selfish at some point, but he scores, and then he has been an effective attacker in the team. So I see no reason why he shouldn't. Ryan Checky, I don't really. I mean, he does the play to be the playmaker and all of that, but there's just something about his game that there's something off about his game that there's something missing. I'm still trying to put it together, but to me, in that kind of game where they need goals, I think Foden should have been a good option. He's effective, so I'm not sure what Pep has going on, but I don't think it's entirely just correct that he's been on the bench for so long and he's not getting any game time, especially when they need results.
Okay.
So at some point,
So, Doye, there's a comment here from one blog. He says that since Foden got benched, City got better and more consistent. Do you share that sentiment?
Yes, I do. Look, football is a business of it's like a what have you done for me lately business. A player as great as Mo Salah, starts playing poorly, and then if Salah leaves today, no Liverpool fan is bawling his eyes out. It's just what it is. You get the new at one point eventually becomes the old, and then they get phased out.
Yeah.
Phil Foden is having a second consecutive poor season whereby he isn't really hitting the heights he hit when he won the PFA Player of the Year, which was two seasons ago. I don't blame Pep, you understand, for putting him for putting Phil Foden on the bench. He's not, the fact that you have experience should be secondary to how you're currently playing. You understand? Put the players on the pitch that are currently playing well, as opposed to the players that had previously played well are currently not playing well, but simply because they have experience. I don't really share that sentiment. Foden has been poor. My main issue with the line,
do you think he'll make the World Cup squad?
he probably makes the World Cup squad on the fringes because he's Phil Foden. He's a Man City player. He's gonna make. He already has the name, sort of.
The
He already has
reputation,
the name, the reputation. So eventually, you understand. I believe that his reputation is going to see him be a part of the squad, but I don't think he's going to be an integral member of the squad when you look at what they have and what the coach likes. But even if he doesn't make the squad, he only has himself to blame. He should go and look inward, look at where it went wrong for him. You understand? I don't know if it's. I wouldn't say it's application or discipline off the pitch or things like that, because we've not really heard a lot about Phil Foden off the pitch outside when he went to England camp and then he broke one of the camp rules. You understand where I'm coming from? But some of all those kind of things could also be an indicator of the kind of lifestyle he wants to live outside the pitch. But maybe the press isn't as the press isn't they don't really have their eyes on his every move or every activity like they did players like Raheem Sterling and Rashford and all those other guys. Well, we can all insinuate why that is the case, but for some reason Foden is being pampered. You understand? He's been pampered. Same thing that happened with Jack Grealish. You understand? So, by all means, and when like they said, when they dropped Foden from the team, you've had players like Semenyo come into the team and deliver.
Yeah.
You know, you have Ryan Cherki that was not playing the amount of minutes that Foden was playing, you know, come in and have more of an impact than Phil Foden was having. You can't, your slot is not an automatic slot. Now we will give you the benefit of doubt of a couple of games, which Pep
Yeah.
did with Foden. But when you're still not producing, then he has to move to other players, you know, that can produce, because he only has a finite number of games to deliver what he wants to deliver with City.
Okay, that makes sense. So your predictions, do you?
I think City beat Real Madrid in the second leg 3-1, but they crash out.
Doctor?
City win 2-0.
2-0?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so this brings us to the end of today's stream. This has been fun cooking with you guys. Been 2 hours. I've really enjoyed every time with you. I hope you guys know that I would like you to be here after the second leg, the Thursday after the second leg. So you're like my Champions League crew, you know, if you get what I mean, if you guys don't mind. So overall, just give me your thoughts on how the first leg worked out. Personally, as a fan, and of course, in general, hate watch and all. I'll start with you, Dewey.
Generally, I was, you know, it wasn't the best for me, especially with the result against um
Gala.
Galatasaray. You know, so from a personal point of view, you know, Liverpool, it's been a struggle. And when you think you're done with you're done quenching one fire, you know, another one is brewing up, you know, from this side. So that has just been my season. You know, I'm constantly, you know, I'm watching my match, and then I run to the right to go and extinguish Konate, because Konate is doing something, and as Konate is finishing, I'm running to extinguish Kekes, and as Kekes is finishing, I'm running to extinguish Gravenberg, and as Gravenberg is finishing, the ball has flown past me because Gaku has refused to pass. He has shot. I'm going to try to extinguish, and then before I get to Gaku, Konate has started again. So that has been watching Liverpool this season. It's been arduous. It's been awful. You understand? It's been awful. It was an awful game to watch. As a fan, it left me frustrated. But you know, I thank God for PSG. You know, they helped make up, at least, you know, cheer me up a bit, give me a brother in arm that, you know, when you cry, I cry, cry along with you.
Great. Yeah.
You know.
Oh my God,
So
that's a hurry up and come back.
yeah, so you know, overall, it was a, you know, beautiful, you know, Bodo Glimt, the story, you know, it continues. The Barca Newcastle game went exactly how I thought it would go. The second leg is going to be a cracker. You know, again, you have, despite the fact that many ties, a few ties look sort of to be over. You still have a couple of games here and there whereby, you know, and it's a
You think
Champions
that's
League, you
right?
know. There was a Champions League semi final where the first leg of one tie ended up 3-0.
4-1.
The first leg of the second tie ended up 3-1, as it 3-1 or 2-0. And those two teams that won did not play. No one played in the Champions League finals. You know, is
Yeah,
where
yeah, and
dreams.
I can't remember the Deportivo de la Coruña versus AC Milan,
AC
where
Milan, you
AC Milan
understand?
had
Four
4-1 in the
one.
first
AC
leg
Milan
and
won
lost
4-1 in the
4
first leg,
midway.
lost the game in the first leg, and then the second leg. You know, it's the Champions League. It's where dreams are made of.
Barcelona.
And
Oh
yeah,
yeah, no, 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 that
you
PSG
know,
Barcelona was just
you know,
that was witchcraft,
you
man.
know, the beauty of what I'm saying is that, you know, comebacks. And as I'm discussing the comebacks, you know, the Chelsea fan is smiling because he understands what I'm saying. You know, they beat Napoli, coming back against Napoli, but the Arsenal fan does not
Yeah,
understand at all. The Arsenal fan does not relate, you
yeah.
know. But maybe this year will be their year that they will eventually, when we are discussing, and then you are giving me signs of three or this, I'll give you my sign of six. But overall, it was a good night of Champions League football. I you know, the Wednesday was awesome. You understand, for me.
I see my face right now. Like, yeah, you know,
Don't worry,
when someone has humbled you and you can't see anything, that's how I'm feeling right now. But
don't
don't
worry,
worry,
don't
don't
worry.
worry.
One day, you understand.
Okay,
the
so
Champions League.
Dr. Nana, what about you? Overall thoughts as a fan? Obviously, you were spanked by PSG, and how was your hate watch? The hate watch work out well for you?
Um, Leverkusen messed up the hate watch. That penalty was unnecessary. Anyway, let me start from the first day. There were surprises. Galatasaray, I thought Liverpool were going to revenge, and it was a good time for them to, pay them back in their own coin, but that did not happen. What other game? There were no surprises between Bayern and Atlanta. There were no surprises between Atletico and Tottenham as well. What was the last match? Okay, Barcelona against
Newcastle.
So yeah, I was quite surprised because I thought Barcelona were going to beat them like 2-1. That was my prediction, So on the second day was mixed feelings because that was the day my team actually played and I was devastated. In fact, you know what? I left the match at 4-2. It was when I woke up and I realized that they had scored the fifth goal. So I'm seeing your comment. That's my friend that I told you about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, we're going to have 4 panelists next week. That will be me,
Yes.
you, Dwayne, and him.
Nice.
What team does he support?
Arsenal, passionate Arsenal fan. He's
Yes.
that's why Anthony wants to have him by all means.
No, he should come. He should come. He will collect the banter from me firsthand.
No, he does not back down. No, he does not back
That
down.
would be awesome. That would be awesome.
Somebody that has not won Champions League before, you don't want to back down
Don't
for
worry,
banter.
he will tell you things. He does not back down. Let's see how very active he's been talking about Chelsea. Did he care that we are what? In fact, next time I'm going to wear the Chelsea jersey with the World Club World Cup badge. I'll highlight it. You guys will see it. You keep seeing it.
Yeah, the world champion. And we have to be stuck with that shit for how many years? 3 more years,
Keep
right?
seeing it.
Easy people, for me, that's past. It's a 1 year something. In fact, as my Premier League is expiring, your World Champion is expiring.
No, it
That
doesn't
is
work.
my
You
own.
cannot create your own rules. The rules are there.
Okay.
The rules says a 4-year tenure. You cannot make up your own.
Oh my days. So guys, this has been fun. Looking forward to seeing you all again next week, Thursday. So basically, there'll be a section where you do your hate watch. I'm going to actually create a column for hate watch. And that'll be led by Doyapa. I know he's like the subzonal chairman of hate watch committee. Hopefully, Gala will take him out too. So I want to see how that works out. Obviously, guys,
Do you know the beauty?
Yeah.
The beauty is that by Wednesday, when I'm going to face Galatasaray, I may exit the Champions League, but I know that Chelsea would have already exited it. They will leave before me. They will leave before me. We may live in the same round, though, but they will leave Tuesday. And as our Wednesday morning, I'll still be in the Champions League. So no problem. We move.
Preach. All right, guys, this has been awesome, man. Thanks for being around. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And we'll see you guys next Thursday for the review of the second leg. Have a good one.
Cheers.
And up PSG. Oh my God, guys, this was so much fun. This was so much fun.
No wala. Later. Make I go sleep.
Cheers, guys.
All
right. Bye.